So you want to start, Lance?
Okay lang.
Sige. Let's go. Ready na.
Sige, teka.
Sige.
Okay, so like what I consulted, I finalized on this Charlotte's Web. So why I chose it is because uh, one of the best CBD strains na meron. Um, it's for anti-anxiety and for anti-inflammation and for treating epilepsy. So this is the process. Pero na present ko na to before, so I just added it.
Okay.
This is the matrix. I didn't add anything naman. It's as is. I just added from last week. I just added massage and cafe kasi I was thinking yung plant ko, I have no products na will make people stay in my structure or building. So that's why I introduced a cafe and a massage since my product is an oil. So pang massage oil. It's good for relaxing and mga treating people with PTSD. And then the cafe so that it can be infused with drinks and brownies, cake, ganun.
But you're
And
allowed
then,
to infuse it with those food, di ba illegal?
sa Philippines, illegal talaga yung cannabis.
Okay, pero in the context of medicinal purposes, is it still accepted?
Yes, actually in US, it's legal in Colorado and a lot of places. But then sa Asia,
No, what I mean is
kaka-legalize.
that when it's legal, it's bound for abuse. But for medicinal purposes, is it accepted to put it in cookie, cake?
People add it in whatever they want since they sell it in small droppers. Tapos sila na bahala sa nila gusto ilagay.
Pero the drop, why do people add it in the food? What is the
They
reason?
add it in the food because yung concentrate, yung oil, it's very bitter daw.
Because of
So
the
adding it to food will make kunwari mga children with epilepsy, they can intake uh, they can take it easier.
okay, sige.
And then this is the flow chart. So do I need to explain each?
Sige lang.
So this yung storage for the clones. So dito yung manggagaling yung pinaka starters. So it's either seed or clone similar to sino ba yun? Si Tracy yata yung nag-present with yung nagka-cut sila ng 45 degrees. So it's the same for this plant.
Okay.
And then to propagate it in small containers and then transplant it to a larger one and then potting it para doon na mag-grow from the vegetative state to the flowering state. And then harvest and then dry the products and cutting and filter. This is more like removing the dirt ganun, from the plant.
Okay.
And then they have the option to store it first since kunwari masyado nang marami yung nasa process ng concentrating it and filtering it. So they can store it first and then by batch nila gagawin. So shredding it to granules, coffee grounds yung consistency niya. And then from that cannabis grounds, they put it into winterization. Basically, removed all the other residues. It separates the CBDA oil, CBDA chemical from the other chemicals such as yung mga plants, yung mga water, ganun. And then the carboxylation, it's heating the parang ang tawag, I'm not sure what you call it kasi yung video na nakita ko sa winterization, parang medyo mukhang tayong lumabas. So it's very thick. So through the carboxylation, nagiging oil na siya. From CBDA chemical, magiging CBD, which is the final state of the product. And then from that, it's mixed into oils and then tested for quality control, then packaged to droppers or in whatever way they want, and then consumption. This is the commercial flowchart. So everything starts with the reception desk. So parang nag-branch out to the cafe, the wellness market, and the massage area. So the cafe, the dispensing counter. I modeled this after Starbucks since drinks and brownies, mga cake, ganun. Yung naiisip ko is Starbucks since it's almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
Dispensing counter, it shares the storage with the marketplace. The marketplace is where you can buy the droppers, kunwari, to go sa marketplace. And then seating area, bakery, busing station, basically the utilities. And then the massage area, ante room for them to wait for their turn, and then massage rooms. So the synthesis is basically adding it all together. But one thing I added is the massage rooms and the seating area is connected to the planting area, but not directly. That's why it's using a hidden line para hindi nila ma-contaminate yung yung products whenever kunwari may nagmamassage. Baka ma-share nila yung oil sa raw products, or if they're eating in the sitting area, baka matapon sa plants. So I segregated it, and then it's separated into two parts. Yung kanina is the blue ones are for the plants and the red ones are for the commercial area. One thing pala to note is from the packaging, it's directly connected to the storage para diretso yung pagpunta sa bakery or market. So this one's the initial 3D diagram, but then I was gonna iterate this one. Kaso lang, when I made my party, I realized na while I'm making the party, may bagong ideas. So it changed, then it changed. So pagkatapos ko na lang ng lahat ng party, saka ko na lang uli i-iterate yung 3D diagram. And then this is the exploded one. So I placed the stairs on the right side of the building since may adjacent building sa side. So my firewall means na I'm not gonna get sunlight from that. That's why I put the stairs on that side. And then here, if you can see this small line, that's the drying area connected directly to the storage area. So there's a way na you can just drop your products into the storage area para hindi na dadaan sa stairs, ganun. And then sa ground floor, then there's a stairs going up to the packaging area para there's a direct access to the commercial market or the cafe I'm gonna propose. It's not yet here. This is the floor plan of those. And then I added this one kasi it's proof na there are gonna be there are gonna be people passing through my structure, which is here. So these are the commercial or office buildings na high density, means medyo high rise sila. So every lunch break, I noticed na a lot of people are going to the mall, which is this area. So that's an opportunity since it's divided by a river or estero. So the way to access it is through here if it's on foot. And then sa party, I just didn't remove this one. Pero wala pa akong party about this since it's just open space. So this is what I presented last week. But I renamed it to A, B, C, D para for the iterations. So this is new. The C part, I changed it to hexagon and then with dividers inside. So yung without the dividers, it's the letter D, the final pot. So I just found a way to divide it into smaller parts. And then this B is for the smaller containers. So this stick is connected on top of this one so that it can sort of coexist. And then iteration for letter C and letter D. So from this one, instead of having smaller hexagons shapes, I just used the dividers. Nagkamali ako sa numbering. And
Dividers of what?
dividers here, yung hindi ko alam anong tawag dito eh. Pero divider lang tawag ko, sir.
What does it
This
do?
one.
Ano bang purpose ng hexagon na yan?
Kasi smaller container. Itong letter C, tapos itong letter D. Since ito mas malaki, tapos ito mas maliit, inisip ko paano yung way na yung large container, pwede rin siyang gawing small container.
Right. Modular.
Using modular pala. Yun, that's the word. So yun, I just made it cohesive with each other. Tapos added the B iteration. And this is the final module. So I got happy with this hexagonal shape. So I proceeded to refine the design. So this the design I got. So it's made of copper so that it's malleable. What else? Yung stick din na yung may T5 light, I integrated a sprinkler system. So this is the sprinkler system for irrigation, and then the T5 is below. It's divided by some sort of spacer para hindi mabasa yung light. This top view, and it's here if it's integrated into the modules. And then this is the next iteration. Ito yung divider na I got from the initial hexagon shape. I just applied it here. So this is the difference from iteration number 2 to iteration number 4 ng letter D. This is around the same diameter as this hexagon. So instead of having just 6 pots, it's multiplied into around 10, 12, ganun, using the almost the same space. So that's the advantage of using the final module I created. So I also wanted to use it as a terraces to go up to uh, other floors. So ito yung magiging stairs ko
Okay.
since it's modular.
Yeah.
So, wait lang. Hindi ko pala na-mention yung screws. So, I have these screws na you can put your plates on top of that para yun yung pang base ng pot mo. So, kaya may screw sa upper part so that when it's made into terraces, you can put it on top para hindi siya parang pot na malalim. Malabo ata pag-explain ko, pero I think you get it, sir.
Okay.
And then this is the drying part. So integrated into the iteration.
Okay.
So this is how it's gonna look like. So under the stairs, it's gonna be the drying area here. So yun. Yun lang, sir.
Okay. So don't close the windows. I think you've shown a lot of progress in this presentation, and I see the hexagonal shape more used, uh, more practical, not just as a choice because it's easy to work with, but you have reason why you chose this because of the modularity, the modular capability of spacing and yeah, spacing your pots. So I like the fact that you're exploring the different uses you can make out of this, but definitely, hopefully by next week, there's something not man almost complete, but like a composed building you can create. That way you can already establish the structural, how this is going to stand, so that we can already see if this is possible or feasible. I understand that I'm encouraging you guys to be more imaginative with the forms, but when I say that this is hyper pragmatic, we need to think of how this is going to stand. This is where your building technology knowledge will come in. So, but this is a very, very good start, is what I was saying. Explore first the things that you can do with the idea, and then later on, think of how you can make it stand. You get it without losing the exuberance of the form, uh, the character of the form, because the moment you introduce other elements to make this stand, you might lose that quality. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but this is I also like the consistency. Like you have something hexagonal on the horizontal plane, and then can you go to the next slide, the previous one that you showed, and you have some. This is top pa rin, no? This is underneath.
Yeah.
Underneath. Okay. Yeah, and then I don't know how the vertical will happen, how your walls are going to be. Think of those things and see how this can be more multi-purpose aside from just a single use, and which you did in this particular illustration. Okay,
Mm.
can we go to
Sir,
the uh
yun ba yung sinasabi niyong architectural techniques?
yeah, it has
Or it's
what
different?
already. Oh yeah, yeah. This one is a start of it already.
Mm,
But if
okay.
you take a look further with how it's going to stand, then yeah, it's like full pledge tectonic.
Okay.
Okay, and then can we go to the bubble diagram? So while you were able to create this very cool three-dimensional studies of how you're going to pot the plants, when we look at the bubble diagram, the plant idea, the plant diagram, although I understand
Mm.
we already have a synthesis, we can go to the plant something. You have a specific, yeah, yeah, plant flow chart. Like how is this? Maybe the hexagonal changes on these different areas. Like I don't know if the hexagonal is still relevant, and maybe at some way they get iterated, or probably it evolves into something else. So I need to see where this how this flowchart is influencing the architecture, the form.
Mm,
You get it?
okay.
And how it is integrated with the what do you call that? With the program on how people will go around, etc.
So it's not this one. So it's not this one. It's still wrong. Or
It's good.
I'm gonna figure out a
These
way
are the
of
adjacencies.
integrating it.
These are the adjacencies. Uh,
Um,
this this is the flow, but how it is physically, we don't have that yet. You're only able to identify the areas for drying and the steps, etc. So I don't know which part of the plant flow chart are those hexagons going to be applied.
okay.
Do you get it? So yeah,
So I'm planning to use the hexagon as the shape of the rooms then. So is that right?
yeah.
Or
What I'm pushing you to do is to make this building unique because I think that your mentality is still about uh, just creating one idea and then it becomes the entire thing when the flowchart can dictate different kind of possibilities. So and my suggestion about what if the hexagon iterates into something else, or it can be totally different. It's really up to you. All I'm saying is that um, if you think about the hexagon as the entire thing already, you sort of limit yourself with that particular direction only. When you can have a lot of source of ideas from the flow chart that you created. Kasi you just talking about
okay.
drying eh. Do you get it? Drying and what else? There were three things that you talk about. And if you push further, maybe you can find ways to maybe the hexagon will be useful, or maybe you can introduce another part that is different. I don't know. This is really up to all I'm after is to see how you are maximizing the translation of a certain process. Because this one that you're showing me, it can work, but it's just a diagram. We don't have the part T for the other parts.
Mm, okay. Okay, sir.
Okay,
Okay.
you sure?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think I get it naman.
Okay, sige. All right.
Lance, what Sir Lance will be presenting kasi my Wi-Fi is not working properly.
As
So I'll just talk and then he'll be the one in doing my sheets.
Oh,
okay,
wait lang ah.
innovative. Huh? That's what friends are for.
Sir, so in terms of uh like in terms of my sheet, sir, medyo di pa clear yun mga illustration because I'm struggling to find a way to present it ng maayos pa.
Sige,
So
it's
this is just a rough draft in terms of
don't get too
illustrations. But then, yeah, but yun ano na lang.
okay.
So here, I separated my users. So the primary user, the primary people involved will be the farmer, and then it'll be the baker and barista, because the program of my structure is centered around parang products of the coconut fruit. And then from that, I have like staff servers and small business owners, and then to the consumers. Next slide, Lance. Thank you. So from here, I connected how um, each of the people will be connected to each other. So the way I
Man, you're still farming, man.
farmer to the secondary users, to the tertiary users, to the end users.
Oh.
Okay, next. So as for my plant naman, the seed would take 3 to 6 months to sprout, and then 5 to 7 years before it's full grown. And then from that point, you can get the coconut water from the 7th to the 10th month. And then if you want the copra and other products, it's the 10th to the 13th. And then the palm falls every 13 months. So it naturally falls na yun. Okay, next slide. So the product per the product of the coconut water that I found is like non-aerated drinks. So aside from actual just coconut water, it's very common for coconut water to be used as an additive to other drinks. The copra and other food products, it can be used for rope and to make buko pie. While for the pulps, it can be used for baskets and packaging. Next slide. So here I sort of broke down how, like, what are the products. So for non-aerated drinks, it's common for the coconut water to be mixed with other fruits or alcoholic beverages to sort of, so that's the point. So that's what I wanted in terms of the bar. Like, I wanted the focus of it to be the coconut water, but then other things are just additives. So here I did an adjacency diagram in terms of my area, like which areas needed to be beside each other. So next slide. Then this one naman, I made a diagram as well showing which areas were needed to be in contact with which users. Since I use this to create the sort of flow of my structure from top to bottom. Next. So this is the summary of all my processes together. So the farmer is the one in charge of growing the plant from seed to fruit and harvesting it. So that entire part will be in connection to their living area. The products, the coconut water will be connected to the bar, while the copra will be connected to the cafe, since the focus of it would be the to collect the copra for buko pie, while the palm will be collected to the market, since I wanted to use that as a way to sort of package and to package the other products that small business users around the area would bring in to the market. Next slide. So this is the 3D diagram of my structure with the areas. So I only based this on the sun carving, so this is not yet the final model. I made a clear one. Next slide. There. So from top to bottom, what I did was I made the living area connected to the sorting area since um as I've stated in my previous slides na my collection system for the coconuts would be like the skywalk where the coconuts would naturally fall onto the nets and then it would be collected to a certain area. From there, the farmers would sort of be the one to separate the different types of coconuts because if they're ripe or if they're because the coconuts can come in three colors, green, which is still young, and then middle age, so that's light brown, and then when they're old they're dark brown. So the three will be separated so that because they can be collected depending on what type of product you want them for now. And then so on the third floor is um the bar and the cafe and the kitchen. And then the second is the market and the weaving, while the bottom is the storage, drying, and another storage area. Next slide. So this is the sort of plan view of it. The small dots are the estimated layout of my trees. So the total is 18 trees.
Okay.
And then the way I designed the structure is that the structure would sort of wrap around the trees. So I used some of the trees as a staircase, like a center pole for a staircase.
Okay.
Next slide. So this is the sort of division between the market and the weaving. The reason it's like this, because the way I thought of this floor was sort of like a grocery where you enter from one, but when you exit during checkout, that's where you have to sort of go through the weaving so that you can pack your the stuff that you bought using the coconut palms. Next slide. So I divided it also from the bar and the cafe and the kitchen. The reason is for this is because towards the kitchen side, it's gonna be seen in my party later, but I created a system where the coconuts would directly be collected by the kitchen area na without having to transfer from the top or without having to go up or down the structure. So next slide. So this is the sorting and living area. Okay, next. So this is just a research sheet on how the coconut palm can be cut to sort of create the weaving. So it's cut down the center and then it's divided into four parts, and then those four parts are weaved into each other to sort of form flat pieces of the leaf, and then that can be wrapped around the different products. Next slide. So sir, this is one of my party. It's like the pneumatic mail system that was used in different countries before, but then since the pneumatic system required airflow, the way I designed this was based on gravity. So since the sorting area is on the topmost floor, different tubes would lead to different areas, resulting in them being able to quickly drop the coconuts to different areas depending on what coconut was needed in what area. So like for example, for the kitchen, that's where the green and the light brown coconuts, so the young and the not yet fully mature coconuts would be dropped to, since they'll be the one in charge of making the drinks and the parang buko pie, while the fully matured coconuts will go directly to the bottommost floor, which is for the production of coconut husk to make the rope. Next. So for this one naman, sir, this is for my bottommost slide. So the drying phase. So when I was studying my structure, sir, I sort of realized that the that my coconut husks would come in batches since it's dependent on the users. So and there is a drying period for coconut husk. So because of that, um I felt now it would be hard to get the husk from in it you would have to get the husks in batches since like the first that went in has to first come out. So what I did was I sort of designed a coin pusher system, like the slot games. So you know that the one where you drop the coin and then something pushes the coin. Yeah. So in the same sense, na that will push the copra that first went in lower and lower until it's pushed out while it's dry, while new copra is inserted into it.
Okay.
Next. I think that's it now.
Okay.
Wala na eh.
This is a really good attempt.
Yeah, sir. I think that's it.
Yeah. So, like I said, this is a really good attempt. I like some of the ideas here. This one I still need to fully understand. But keep in mind, can we go to the previous slide with the sorting machine or sorting tubes? Yeah. Well, this is the functionality is there, but to think of this is where you have to think of what kind of tectonic you are going to create. You know what I mean? Because if it's going to be all glass, you lose that natural quality of working with coconut and having coconut building. You know what I mean? So, kasi if you use plastic, while it looks neutral or glass, it looks neutral. Um, it still feels very artificial. Um, because can we go to the previous slide? Okay, yeah, that this one because you already talked about weaving, and then probably part of your structure is also woven, and then maybe the tubes are of the same thing, or it can be maybe a better material would probably be steel, you know, with like ironworks, etc., but not necessarily sealed as a tube. This
Yeah.
is sort of
Um.
yeah,
No, sir. It's okay. Finish first, then
uh,
I'll go.
to sort of have the same uh how do I say it? Like if it's a brand, but it's the same brand, it's very natural and uh and just to be consistent with the language, if you're talking about
Mm-hmm.
a very natural language for the building, then work with that.
Yeah.
And then I
Sir.
think
Okay.
a neutral material
Ah,
would be
yeah.
probably a metal, na kulay black, etc. Because you see that in rattan chairs on how actually you can put that as a one of the sheets inspired by the rattan, and then instead of having a bamboo uh, structural system, you have steel that acts like the bamboo, and then the skin will be this woven material.
Okay. Sir, for the material of the tubes, because I'm still studying it, the feasibility of this. But then I found a way where you can harden um the shredded copra, so the excess of whatever you don't use from the rope off, you can harden that with the use of mushrooms, and then you can shape it to whatever shape you sort of need. So
Okay.
I'm still studying the feasibility of that for the actual structure because I'm
Uh,
not sure how strong it will be and how long it will last. Parang ganon.
okay. Sige. Don't take too long because time is limited. But
Yeah.
I'm open to it. Don't get me wrong. But kasi when I'm looking at the
Okay.
studies now, baka mas feasible na you have this woven thing because it's being used in our nipa huts. You know what I mean? So it's
Okay. Yeah.
woven already, but you can reinterpret it in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when it comes to
Sir.
the tube, sorry, for the
Yeah.
coconut tube, etc. I understand that you want it to be more transparent because the action of dropping the coconut there is like a spectacle. So I wanted to preserve that. Don't conceal that. That's why I suggested the
Yeah.
metal grill work. I don't know whatever. So it's open. You can still see the falling coconut, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also an architectural feature.
Okay.
Ayun, sige,
Sir,
ano? Hmm.
another one of my options was to use the same rope system that I'm using to collect the coconuts from the actual tree.
Yeah, you can do. Actually, I love that. Probably that's your rooftop. I don't know yet. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I could think of. Like you have a lot of net. Alam mo yun, your structure will be a play of net-like uh, fabric. I don't know, because of that catchment, and then you also have this weaving uh, surfaces that can also play with um, the sizes of permeability. Um, Yeah, because if uh if it's all dense, it's enclosed, and then if it's a little loose, then you have some sort of visibility. Um,
Yeah.
so you can play with those things.
Okay.
Okay. And what's nice kasi, if you're sick with the material, if there's a way for you to store these leaves, and then they can always replace it. So you have that another concept and another idea for the building. So you not only create
Mm-hmm.
a typology, you're also creating how it's being designed or being built because the walls are replaceable.
Mm-hmm.
You get it? So
Yes, sir.
it might be too fragile because I don't know if it's fragile because Bai Kubos use them anyway. But all I'm saying is it's replaceable. The materials are there. So you don't only have the process of making coconut products, and then also the harvesting of coconut water, which will be nice to see also. Um,
Yeah. Okay.
you also have a living building. So
Okay.
actually, I can imagine this developing. Now I can picture it.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sige.
Okay, sir.
All right,
Okay, thank you.
all right. Oh wait, so who wants to go next? Sige, go ahead.
Wait lang I don't think it's moving in my screen.
Okay.
Can you see it, sir?
I think it's still loading. I think it's still loading. I can see your desktop.
Um,
Pero
my Wi-Fi is pretty bad.
okay. Pero I can see a screen with the gray background. Is that what you want? What you want to show?
Yeah, the fun. The stakeholders.
Yeah, I can see that. I know, put it.
Okay. Okay, so this is my stakeholder flowchart. I'm just gonna breeze past this since I already sort of um, talked about it in the previous weeks, but I divided it into the workers and the consumers. So within the structure, the workers will include abaco farmers, Um, and then I also divided into the flow of where of from harvesting to textile production. So that starts with the abaco farmer towards wet good vendors who contribute to the by providing organic dyes through like vegetables and fruits. And then from there goes to the skilled weavers and artisans who produce like baskets and other crafts. And then from the weavers, it goes to uh, tailors and seamstresses who sew these into garments, and then to textile vendors. And then for the consumers, these consist of residents, elementary students, and other designers or textile consumers. So I also indicated which of these stakeholders are within the direct community of my site. So these are the tailors and seamstresses, then textile vendors and wet goods vendors, artisans, residents, and elementary school students. And then here I indicated the flow of the, uh, here, okay. First, this is my first idea, which is on the abaca plant. So I mentioned it already before. It's the cultivation process from planting to topping, tumbling, tuxing, stripping, drying, and bundling.
Mhm.
And I also group them initially on how I could integrate some of these processes into um, certain areas. So uh, initially, these were the groupings where the cultivation process happens within topping and tumbling happens within the cultivation area, while tuxing goes with stripping, drying goes with bundling. And then this is my second flow chart where I discuss my second idea, which is the traditional weaving uh, process. So same thing, I indicated the processes and group them into which parts I would most likely fit together in terms of spatial division.
Mhm.
Okay, and then I made a simple synthesis just to gather which stakeholders would fit in certain spaces. Um, so yeah, I indicated it's medyo malabo from here since you can't see the uh, indicators like the symbols, but I labeled it here. And then from there, for example, cultivation only includes farmer, residential families, and other consumers. While, for example, the dyeing process includes more of the stakeholders. It's more open to the stakeholders. While there are other processes wherein um, they're more of the risky activities, so they're more enclosed or private to the public. But then I group them into potential spaces and label them alphabetically, the A, B, C, D, E, based on the areas that I would like to create with the culmination of these processes and stakeholders. Okay, so while I was, because okay, this is a massing, not exactly an iteration, but I created some sort of massing for the 3D bubble diagram, and I didn't want to stick with my initial
Pyramid.
3D, my initial no, yeah, that one, but then also the sun carving diagram. I didn't want to stick with that, so I used some of the um key points that I wanted to carving to creating a more suitable structure massing, I guess. And then this massing, I sort of got inspired by Paulo Portuguese's field theory,
Mhm.
wherein um, since I talked about before having the labyrinth as sort of a way to seamlessly have the processes flow from one to another, where walking through the spaces seemed and more one directional. So or and I didn't want to sort of create a structure na without rationality, I guess. So more practical yet rational ways to sort of create that labyrinth feel with by um, geometry, and to use the um, circles instead of a more rectangular shape, since I think it would go well with my program where it more of like music and
Cool.
noise because of the convex and the concave, as well as I guess it also touches on the form of a labyrinth in itself. So here in Portuguese's field theory, he sort of uses radial shapes to gather to sort of create spaces within his structure. Um, yeah, that's basically it. It's further explained, but that's the general idea. And I was inspired by his structures, which such as this one. It's a church, and you could tell how the concentric shapes could help sort of integrate the light and the sound aspects of the church activity. And my program sort of hints the same atmosphere, I guess. So I think it would be a good inspiration for like driver for my future floor plans and iterations. So that's why I created this massing. It's nothing final. It's far from final, but it's just to get the general idea.
Yeah.
Um, and then for the bubble diagram, I sort of got from the synthesis. I got the areas which I labeled for A, B, C, D, E, F, and then keys, and then I divided them into levels as well. And then this is where I messaged you, Sir, right, about how I wanted to integrate Filipino indigenous cultures or cultures in general as like a driving like a driver for the program and the tectonics that I want to create for each area. So here I synthesized each area. So for example, the cultivation, topping and tumbling area, I wanted it to be a more communal area, an open space, since it's the entrance, it's the start of like your experience in the structure. So that's where you enter. It includes like the terrace cultivation as well as the harvesting of the leaves and the stem, as well as um, having the storage for the planting equipment and the harvested um, uh, parts of the plant, as well as maybe having an open viewing or seating area. And then for the second one, area B, the reason why I have question marks here is because I sort of labeled the areas based on which Filipino culture I was inspired by. So
Okay.
for now, I haven't really thought about some of the areas, but for example, let area E, I don't know, area D. I was inspired by the culture of the tuog, which is steam inhalation and indigenous Filipino culture, and how I integrated that in the dyeing process. Um, so I'll be explaining each area that I've come up with so far.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the general idea. And then okay, here. This is just a more detailed flow of one area to another. You can see I divided into levels, and then I indicated the flow from one area to another.
Mhm.
So yeah, from the right side, the right wing, I focus more on the cultivation of the plants, and the left wing becomes more of the textile production area. But then the flow that I created so far within the structure is um, a singular flow that I hope I get to um, to feasibly do in the future. But yeah, it's from the entrance. It's an entrance and exit area. So like from going up and going inside and going to the left wing and going up and going down and going back out from in the right wing. That's the general idea of like the labyrinth that I wanted to use.
Okay.
Okay, so here I said I was gonna divide each area based on the ritual that I was inspired by and the architectural ideas that have popped up. I'm not sure if it's integrated well enough, but I think it's good to have ideas just
Yeah.
rather than none.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. For area A, obviously I was inspired by the the paddy system of the Banawe rice terraces or the Ifugao rice terraces because they have a very sustainable way of having their water flow throughout the terraces. And based on um, my bubble diagram, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but
I can see.
the area wherein the right wing and the left wing merge, I plan to have it as sort of dye fibers. So with that dyeing area comes like a lot of uh, need for water systems. And so I wanted to integrate that water system by recycling that water into the cultivation of plants. That's why it merges towards this planting, terrace structure. So this is where this idea comes in. I'm yet to turn this into an architectural aspect, architectural innovation, but that's the idea behind it. And then also integrating my idea of having like this, as I mentioned before, the walkable areas where um, visitors may come in through different areas within the terrace structure in order to experience what's inside it, and also other considerations that I need to integrate are like the sun and wind penetration, which I think could be explored more. Okay. And then this is another area that I um came up with. So area E is the area where I integrated the weaving, beating, and burnishing of the fabric. So I was inspired by the idea of indigenous folk music, where they have a lot of different musical instruments that don't necessarily produce the conventional music that we're used to hearing, but they use a lot of like beats and sort of spontaneous um, rhythmic sounds in order to use those sounds as like sort of driver for their like traditional dances. And because weaving in itself is a tradition that goes with folk dances in the indigenous parts of our country,
Okay.
decided I wanted to make it into a program, I guess. So this area would be more of like a performance area, but also produces textiles. So, and I didn't put it here, but I did find a lot of pictures of like old pictures of uh, tribes who have their like weaving instruments, and if anything they look like a band, or like they look like they have their musical instruments with them. So that's the sort of idea that I wanted to project with this
I can imagine.
um yeah, with this program. So I was also, for the architectural idea behind this weaving process, was I wanted to emulate the idea of being in a church where you're you, you know that atmosphere where you're in a church and the sound sort of like it sort of like envelopes the entire like
Yeah.
inner space.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I got the idea of like the pipe organs. I was inspired by the old Spanish churches here in the Philippines. And I'm yet to I was trying to search about um the idea of the wind system of this pipe organ, because I'm not sure if I could integrate the idea of vibration with this uh weaving process, because I watched a lot of videos where it's really loud. The factories for weaving are really noisy, and I have other um oh, here, this is another another architecture idea that to be integrated in the same area. So as I said, like I wanted the activities to have sort of musical aspect to it. So the idea of beating and burnishing the fabric as it's moving along the the space. Um, it's also an interactive activity. I was inspired by also the idea of folk instruments, and like their like drums and beating patterns, and um the activity can be done through this mechanism. I think I'm yet to explore how this can be done. I know a lot of textile factories use a rotary fabric production machine where um it just it consists of rolls, kinetic rolls, but um I'm trying to find a way to make it more mechanical, I guess, or something that can be interactive instead of having it flow by itself throughout the space. Also, I wanted to use this architecture idea as a sort of noise absorption, since the act all of these acts in culmination produce a very heavy sound. And of course, you want the sound to be mitigated in a way to not sort of be too overwhelming. So the material of abaca in itself becomes a noise absorption. Here, some of my research for the having the abaca as sort of like acoustic banners as well. So yeah, that's the idea. Okay, here. And then this is my last sheet, I think. The last idea that I came up with for area D, which is the dyeing and rinsing area of the fibers, is based on traditional Filipino culture of like sort of a relief practice of inhaling steam boiling water that is infused with herbs. And I did talk about how weavers in general, it's a very strenuous work. So there is a need for them to have some sort of area to take a break and to relax their muscles because of the physical activity. So I indicated the benefits of it. So it includes like relieving headaches, and I associated that by creating maybe like a steam room or a sauna where uh, um, it gives them more of like a larger scale space for this two-of activity. And I looked to the conventional sauna stone heater because I think that's the most simple traditional way of creating a sauna safely. So that's by um, pouring water onto heated stones, and that creates steam. And since the activity includes uh, dyeing, it, I have yet to search for plants that both do that have dyeing properties as well as aroma or medicinal properties that is safe to use
Okay.
for inhalation. But yeah, that's the general idea. Um, yeah, and then if I could find a way to practically use this stone as a sort of heating mechanism for the boiling of the dyes, I think it would work. So yeah, those are my ideas so far.
Great. I really appreciate the immersion that you put into this. Going back to the resting area, which is the sauna.
Yeah.
This is for the weaver, no?
Yeah.
Um, this is just a suggestion. Maybe you have a lot of ideas already, and I think my role
Mm,
as a mentor is to sort of help you edit it. And
yes.
so um, the idea of the sauna is good. It might
Uh-huh.
be a little far-fetched because we don't know if these guys are really into sauna because
Yeah.
it's really hot. But if you're meant,
Yeah.
if it you're meant for them, if it's meant for them to rest, why not create a space for a lot of like a space that has a lot of hammocks because you have the fabric already. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So you have that area for those who want to rest, and I think that's more realistic. But you can still
Mm.
be very creative with it. Recently, I've seen yoga studio wherein they have those hammock like it's not really a hammock, but it's a fabric meant for
Oh
suspension.
yeah. Yeah,
So
like aerial yoga.
yeah, aerial yoga, and then you can have the same visual uh, idea, probably even more if they have a lot of weavers there. Um, it,
Yeah.
and it's not so ostentatious. I mean,
Uh-huh.
and um, and what's nice about it is that it can be very visually appealing, but at the same time, it's a
Mm-hmm.
very simple idea and solution. If you're if you're looking for a place for the relaxation, you get it?
Mm-hmm.
Yun. So
Yeah, I get it.
yeah, and then but the rest I'm okay. I go for it. I am curious how you're going to synthesize it into a structure. Maybe I just have one question regarding how the bubble diagram is relevant to the the form that you created. Can we go to the isometric of the initial,
The massing,
yeah,
this one.
yeah. I know
Mm-hmm.
that you have a diagram showing the movement, uh, the the s- the the chronological order of moving around the building as a
Yeah.
process. So I think it will be good to have a probably one sheet showing this diagram, this massing, and then on one side is the process so that you can easily relate the two.
Okay, so just indicate which areas
Yes.
are located where.
Yeah, it is just a suggestion because it's very hard to flip from one sheet to another.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think it
Okay,
will
so.
be clear to show that because when you were presenting your flow diagram, it is very convincing, no, as an idea. And what we want to demonstrate is it can be more convincing as a form. It will be,
Mm-hmm.
we are demonstrating that you're able to translate this idea flow into a spatial flow. Do you get it? So yeah, and then and of course I want to challenge this scheme, but
Mm-hmm.
I want to encourage you. I want to inspire you to keep on exploring. But if I were to
Yes.
challenge it, maybe the question is the spatial requirements and
Mm-hmm.
and how the numbers affect the size of this volume. I would probably ask for that because right now it looks really cool. Maybe my my reservation is how many people can fit in there, how many
Mm-hmm.
machines or weaving machines can fit in there, how many weavers. I think I mentioned that already.
True. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
But that is not meant for me to discourage you. No, that's not meant
Mm-hmm.
to discourage you. Instead, I want you guys to keep pursuing the same kind of thinking and freedom that you have, and then we adjust it later on the moment we have the data or numbers.
Okay, so.
Because honestly, pragmatically, if I'm going to share my experience, my practice, this is also how I design. I really shoot for the ideal, and then I adjust it. And then if I'm
Mm-hmm.
not happy, then I move on to the next scheme. But I'm not. We're not doing that now. No. So but that's basically my style. Like I really design with the best imagination possible. So and then I try to see if it's applicable with the conditions of the site. It has to match, no, and that's why it's a uh, back and forth process. Okay,
Okay, sir.
okay, well, really impressive work. So don't hold back. Keep on working on this already. All the ideas that you presented are approved. I just have a little reservation on the sauna idea.
Yeah, okay, sir. Oh, yeah, with that, I have a question because I'm still sort of stuck with, because of that, like the program that I want to have for the structure. Because right now it seems like more for, I guess, leisure because
Mhm.
of like the entertainment and everything. But then um also having to integrate like the relaxation area for like the weavers. Is
Actually,
that not
actually,
too.
this is my impression. I'm sorry to cut you. My
Yeah,
impression
it's okay.
it's more of a building for weaving. The
Mm-hmm.
entertainment aspect, it's just coincidental.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get it? Because we cannot really claim that it's about entertainment, that you can create music, because as you said, the rhythmic sound is really more like very raw. So I don't know if
Yeah,
you can actually compose a music out of it, but
yeah,
it's more of an experiential type of atmosphere, the music and the
yeah.
rhythmic part. But it's really about the weaving part and the plant part, and the things that you can produce out of it, and then the entertainment area becomes a coincidence. So that
Mm.
just work on that. That's the building itself.
So, sir, it's fine if like I don't hold back on like other similar coincidental programs.
Uh, Actually, I'm already telling you.
Yeah.
You just focus on the weaving aspect, the plant aspect. You see, the plant and the
Okay.
weaving are connected, and then the
Okay.
music part, the pipe organ idea, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
those are coincidentals. It just
Mm-hmm.
you get it. Parang it's like an what do you call that? It's the spectacle as a result of the architecture,
Okay.
like that. So
Okay.
do you get it?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So because if we keep on expanding it, it might be.
Yeah, it might be too chop suey.
And then right now, kasi I'm helping you curate it. The plant, because it's the source of the material, and then
Yeah.
the weaving, and then
Yeah.
the music is just coincidental basically. So it's really just about,
Mm.
if you notice, the one of here is all about the
Mm.
coconut, the juice, etc. And then
Yeah.
and the other program is just coincidental.
Mm.
You get it? So we don't
Okay.
really do it too much. The only reason why I was pushing you to do it, to exaggerate it at first, because I want you to see the big picture first, and then we edit
Mm-hmm.
in the end.
Okay,
Kasi
sir.
if I'm going to limit it at the beginning, you will not see the potential of the idea of how far you can go with it, and you might miss an idea that is might be good for your proposal.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so in terms of curation, does that make sense for you?
Yeah, sir.
Okay, kasi it's all
Um.
connected naman eh, the abaka weaving, and then the music coincidental. It reminds me of
Mm.
the project, President Medal project, the Slaughterhouse. The music is just coincidental, basically.
Mm.
The string that
Okay.
is attached on the slaughterhouse. I don't know if you
Yeah.
saw that before. It's
I'll
coincidental.
look into it.
It's coincidental. So basically, the student created the slaughterhouse in the outskirts of, I don't know if it's in Liverpool, I forgot the exact area, and then he attached strings that create music because of the wind. And what's a bit
Mm-hmm.
morbid is that when they are slaughtering the cows, because of the vibration, to also create, because it has bells, the strings.
Mm.
So it's kind of an eerie experiential thing. So in a way, your idea reminds me of that idea. So if for example I'm driving around this area, I would hear um, bamboo, bamboo sounds, rhythmic, etc.
Yeah.
Might not be musical, but it's rhythmic,
Mm.
and then it becomes like the sense of place is not just the visual, but also the auditory.
Yeah, sir.
Ayun.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
But were you thinking of exploring more ideas?
No, cause I don't know. Like when I was searching for ideas, cause I wanted each space to have some sort of experiential architectural innovation. So I was looking into like the Filipino cultures, and because of those ideas, it sort of created more more ideas that seemed very too far off. So I didn't know where to stop or
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah. That's
yeah.
the role, to make you see that you need to look at it from a creator's eye. You need to just um, you just need to pick the right ideas. And if it's too far already, then we take it out. And so far, what works are the weaving because of the abaka, and then the music is just coincidental.
There.
Did you hear it? Sorry.
Yeah, I did. I did.
Ayun. So, ano pa ba? Yeah.
Nothing for now. But if I explore it further, I think I'll just message you along the way.
Okay. But for now, I think you need to work on that already, that idea already. Try to synthesize everything.
Okay.
Um, ano pa ba? Will you still have stores for this place?
What, sir?
Stores for the
Source.
product.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that, but it's part of my the synthesis that I made since sewing and storage area for one of the processes, since I mentioned before, like this place becomes like where the the tailors and the seamstresses from Kamuning, they get transferred towards this area, so obviously have to provide space for their uh independent stores, and
Okay.
potentially, yeah, there's a level for that.
Actually, probably based on my recommendation of what you should focus on. Maybe, but the challenge there is what will make the people go up, what will compel them to go up, so that they can interact
Mhm.
with the coincidental elements.
Mhm.
So what's upstairs? Is it just a garden? I don't know, or a restaurant? You need to have an anchor or a magnet.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I think I can see that. Yeah, I can see it. Okay.
yeah, because we need to force them to go up. Like how you plan
Yeah.
walls, like there's we call it the dumbbell effect. You put anchor points on both ends
Uh,
to drive the traffic. So in your case, how do you drive the traffic?
something to intrigue them
Yeah, upwards.
to
Yeah,
go to the next space. Okay.
yeah. Uh,
Okay.
ano ba ba? Maybe it's a fashion thing. I don't know. You think about that. It's a fashion
Okay,
hub.
sir.
I don't know, like you have a runway, and I don't know if it happens, or a school of fashion. I don't know. If
Okay.
you think about that, along alongside that.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sige. All right. Thank
Okay.
you. You know.
Thank you, sir.
lobby and receiving area. Then sinama ko rin yung mga rooms na gusto kong malagyan ng daylight, yung may sun na icon, and
So, man.
yung we have direct access, immediate adjacency, and close proximity. So yun lang, sir. So
I said it.
yung sa sir, yung dito sa botanical, hindi ko na siya sinama dun sa space programming since nasa exterior naman siya. Yung ginawa ko lang sa space programming is yung sa interior space lang. And ito yun. Ito, sir. So, makita dito sa first floor na yung lobby is adjacent dun sa juice bar. since meron akong plan na yung aloe gel is pwede naman siyang gamitin as a drink.
Mamaya, laro ko.
And yung sa storage naman, since yung process nung dun sa plant, yung pag sa harvest, ginawa ko siyang downward and i-explain ko siya later kung bakit po ba. Then dito naman sa second floor, sir, is yung parang ito yung floor na main source ng life, if I were to put it. Since yung structure ko is centered around the utilization of steam, and yung dun sa process ng pag-sterilize ng aloe gel, and then yung dun sa process din ng steam bath, meron din siyang na-produce na steam. So parang yung second floor is yung source of parang life sa structure ko. And yung sa third floor naman is more on the yung meron siyang massage room na focus on dun sa wellness. And yung sa fourth floor naman is processing lang nung dun sa plants. So yun dun dito sa plant idea ko, sir. Binalikan ko muna ulit yung growing stages ng plant ko, which is yung aloe vera, and yung kung saan ko sila gustong ilagay. Since yung plant ko, sir, is mula sprouting stage and then hanggang dun sa harvesting stage, nagbabago yung rind thickness niya, which is yung skin ng plant. Meron siyang basic requirements na kailangan kong sundan. So, yung dun sa sprouting stage, sir, nag-focus ako na ilagay siya dun sa plant nursery. Then yung dun sa maturation stage, dun ko siya ilalagay sa lower main enclosure ng structure ko. Then dun sa harvesting stage naman is dun sa upper main enclosure. So, ito yung sinasabi ko, sir, na yung based dun sa rind thickness ng plant and dun sa sprouting stage, sir, since thin yung skin ng plant, yung outer shell ng plant, it is susceptible to heat, and since bata pa yung plant, pwede siyang mabuhay without soil, and yun nga yung thin rind, and because of the thin rind, it is prone to drying out. Then dun naman sa maturation and harvesting stage, yung type ng I mean yung characteristics ng plant na yun is it is capable of living in high heat dahil dun sa thickness ng rind niya, and kailangan niya ng soil to grow proper roots since dun nagmamature na yung plant, so kailangan niya mas maraming nutrients, and yun nga yung thick rind. So application na dun nung sa sir, yung architectural part, yung dun sa plant box, sir, since the sprouting plants are sensitive to heat, and they I can use pebbles. Yung plan ko doon is to force the steam under the plant box for the sprouting plants. Since yung steam mainit and pwede niyang masira yung sprouting plants, finorce ko siya doon na dumaan doon sa between the pebbles, since yung may nabasa akong phenomena, sir, na yung actually simple lang to. Yung phenomena na if you blow wind through your mouth na parang nag-whistle ka, malamig yung hangin. And if nag-blow ka ng wind from your mouth na makabuka yung bibig mo, mainit yung hangin. So dito dun sa concept na yun, sir, naisip ko yun dun sa pebbles, since meron siyang spaces between, dun dadaan yung steam, and yung maliliit na spaces na yun, it can cause the steam to parang lumamig. Then at the same time, wina-water na din yung plants. Then doon naman sa maturation harvesting stage, since mas less sensitive yung mature na plants doon sa heat ng steam, pwedeng dumiretso yung steam doon sa leaves ng plant mismo. So mas kaya niya i-survive yung heat na dinadala ng steam na nagagaling doon sa sterilization process ng aloe gel, and then yung dun sa steam bath na for the aging population. So for the architectural naman, sir, ito yung sa plant nursery and yung upper main enclosure and lower main enclosure. So yung glass enclosure ko, sir, ito lang yung nagka-catch ng steam. Then nagko-cause siya ng condensation inside to water the plants. Then yun nga, meron siyang byproduct na water. So inisip ko na gamitin ko din yun as a way to provide water dun sa steam bath. And dito siya makita. Ito sir, yung dun sa so nag-integrate ako ng water filtration system dun sa glass enclosure. Since yung glass enclosure, meron siyang condensation and yung water na yun is pwede kong gamitin as pwedeng drinking water since malinis naman yung steam. And to clean it further, naglagay ako ng water filter dito sa baba na magkakash ng tubig. And yung layers na is yung ginaya ko lang yun dun sa yung sa water filtration system ng mga water station na nakita natin na available. So it has 6 layers which are sand, charcoal, and sand again. Tapos yung anthracite it's like a finer charcoal. Then yung cotton mesh to catch all the filtering elements above and the fine gravel below to allow the water to pass. So itong water filtration system, sir, it can act as an extra water source and it can spread light better, which is explained ko after this sheet. And it creates a cool environment for the plants, which is helpful dun sa pag-produce ng gel ng aloe vera. Then ito sir, since may water droplets ka dun sa glass enclosure, then dun papasok yung sunlight. And alam naman natin na parang harmful yung direct sunlight sa plants. So since may water droplets nga dun sa glass enclosure, it can cause the entering sunlight to refract and mag-spread out pa dun sa loob. Though yung entering sunlight is parang na-lessen yung pagka-harsh niya. And it's more safe for the plants to receive the sunlight na na-refract nung water droplet. And for this one, sir, is yung dun sa biocompost. Actually, sir, yung dito sa biocompost na part is parang extra lang to since yung rind and yung latex na part ng plant is just parang considered waste product. And since it's organic, pwede siyang i-feed dun sa earthworms na kumakain ng organic matter and then yung poop nila is pwedeng i-turn dun sa vermicompost which is pwede ko rin gamitin dun sa pagpapalaki ng plants na nag-enter na ng maturation and harvesting stage. So this is a basic synthesis, sir. There's this indirect human activity which is yung sterilization ng parang aloe gel, then yung steam bath, and yung indirect human activity na yun, it creates steam, and yung steam na yun feeds the plants, and in return, the plants feed the people with yung aloe gel nga. Then yung more complicated synthesis naman. This is the last slide na, sir. We have the main players of the parang vegetating architecture concept, which is yung indirect human activity, hot and cold wind, and sunlight. So these 3 players, parang they work together to create the steam. Then next one is after the steam enters dun sa glass enclosure, it creates condensation, which then creates water. Ay, nausag ng onti yung icon, sir. So yung water na yun is pwedeng gamitin for the plants. Pwede siyang gamitin for the steam bath. Pwede siyang gamitin dun sa juice bar as parang extra source of water. Then yung dun sa plants naman, it has 2 byproducts which is yung aloe gel and then yung rind. Then yung rind nga, yung basically it's waste. So if you feed siya dun sa earthworms, it can then be turned to biocompost, which in return could be used for the plants. So dito naman sa juice bar and steam bath, it is for the wellness and health of the humans. Then yung aloe gel naman is for the wellness and health then and for ng humans na gumagamit ng space. So yun lang, sir.
Okay. I love the flow of ideas, especially with the flow chart on the last slide. Can we go to the section you were talking about, the glass and then the filtering? Yeah, this
Oh,
one.
this,
And then, yeah, the gutter filter. And then can we go to the previous slide also? Yeah, this one. This is very interesting when I'm looking at the base section. Can we focus on that? Wait, let me adjust the view. Okay, so you have the mini enclosure plant nursery. Okay, maybe my task for you is how you can make use of this technology as as an architecture, because right now, um how do I say it? When it comes to architecture proposals, although I see it in a lot of commercial firms, I am not very keen on seeing putting concept pegs on their concept pages.
okay, sir.
Like that. So for me, it's tantamount to copying it.
Mm,
It doesn't do justice to what you're doing now. You're exhausting all efforts to produce research and then translate the architecture, and then all of a sudden you show an example of it. So
mm,
the message that I'm getting is you are copying it from it, which
mm,
I totally don't believe din naman. Pero
mm,
kasi, I want you to avoid this. No? If you're just alluding, legit alluding something, iba kasi allusion, iba yung copying, no? Or getting inspired from. Even though you say inspired, medyo ano pa rin yun eh. Parang uh, almost copying. But
mm.
if it's all about the allusion, pwede pa. So,
Okay,
uh,
sir.
so maybe one struggle that I have is that when I'm looking at the glass enclosure image, it looks very interesting. It's the kind of architecture that I'm imagining for the kind of technology that you develop based on the
Mm,
aloe vera and the process that you created. But when I'm looking at your section, it looks very flat. I know it's just a section. It doesn't
yes,
look
sir.
as expressive as the image. Do you
Mm,
get it? So um, right now it looks as if it's just a piping system inside the
mm.
wall. Do you get it? So
Okay,
it's
sir.
not really, it's still not architecture. But it's
Okay.
good. This is a good step so that you know how it works. But if you can find a way to iterate this further so that you are expressing this kind of system as architecture, do you get it?
Mm,
Rather than as a hidden system behind the
mm,
wall or inside the wall, because the glass enclosure image on the right is more expressive
mm.
of a certain system. I don't know what it is, no? I catches.
Sir, it's, parang it's yung tawag ng studio stage dyan is glasshouse laboratory. Parang yung picture na yan is for reference lang to how I imagine the glass enclosure to look like.
It looks
So,
beautiful. O sige, o sige. But I think you can do better than this. Kasi talagang
okay.
I can really imagine the mist. Kung magaling ka
Mm,
mag-render, that will be really dramatic later
okay,
on.
sir.
Later on, ha? So I'd be excited to see it. But my second
Okay.
comment is, while I'm excited I'm a very functionalist designer as well. But I'm
Mm,
also curious how you can push further the ideas that you have to create different forms, maybe inside or even as an annex. I don't know yet, no.
okay,
uh,
sir.
but I don't want it to be limited with your, kasi baka as early as now you're limiting yourself as a probably a minimalist or high-tech architect, etc. Not yet, no, you're still exploring. So
Mm,
then don't get too attached with a certain style yet,
yes,
because
sir.
you might say that it's too chop suey or it's too boxy or
Mm,
it's too ostentatious, etc. No, we're not in that. I'm not looking. We're not criticizing your work on that aspect. We're criticizing the work based on the exploration of the idea and how you should synthesize everything. Okay. So, but it's good. It's a good reference. The one that you're showing, because I'm imagining it somehow. And then what's
Okay.
nice about this is that it can be ephemeral, because the mist is temporary. You know what I mean? So there are
Mm.
times when it's misty or blurry or frosted, and there are times it's
Mm.
clear. Okay. So
Mm.
the water filtration system, when you're showing an image like this, we need to have an idea for the scale, because
Oh, okay, sir. Okay, sir.
right now it will be very difficult for you to acquire a glass this big.
Mm.
Okay, so you should have placed a divider
Okay, sir.
like the mullions, etc. Mullions ba? Tama. So or the framing of the glass that will divide it.
So parang ganito yung kakalabasan niya, parang may framing na ano.
Yeah, exactly. Keep in
Okay, sir.
mind that's the ones available in the market is 1.2 meter
Mm.
wide. Okay, so
Okay, sir.
beyond that you need to spend more. Okay, so but it's very unusual already to see a 4 meter wide glass, but I've seen 3 meters wide glass. I've used 2 point something in Panorama House. It's really wide, but more than that, it's a little unusual. Abroad, I've
Okay.
seen it, but I think it's going to be very expensive. But in your case, I don't think you need to be minimalist. I don't think it's relevant, to make it
Mm.
like all glass, like all white glass. So you can still divide it, and that will also create that, um, provide you more character to the building because you have that detail.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Sige,
Yes.
I'm excited to see start synthesizing already because I think you have the material.
Okay,
The
sir.
aloe veras can generate a lot. I'm excited for the juice bar, for the steam, etc. It's like a steam house. That's how I
Yes, sir.
imagine it. Like it's a mist house. So how do you create a mist house? Here is doing a cocoa house, a coconut juice house. Si Janelle is doing a, what do you call that? A weaving house. I don't know yet. So I'm excited to see how this develops.
Okay, sir.
All right. Sige, thank
Okay,
you,
sir.
Patis.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Uh, okay, wala pala si Julian. Okay. Okay, guys. Any questions? Unless si Mac magpe-present.
No po, sir.
Okay. Si Tracy mukhang ano na eh. Merong handa na mukhang merong 20 sheets eh.
Ha? Sa dreams ko lang, sir.
Akala ko,
Hanggang isip lang.
akala ko nag-beast mode last night eh.
Hindi, I need rest.